Well, I was born in Dallas, Texas, but we grew up on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. And so we moved there when I was about 8 years old. And then I came to Millsaps and stayed in Jackson ever since. I got a degree in accounting and passed the CPA exam and then practiced public accounting for 40 years.
We met at a workout class at 5 o'clock in the morning. We obviously, neither one of us looked our best at 5 o'clock in the morning, so we must have really just liked each other.
Well, Jennifer and I have been married about 11 years. She's an attorney. She's my better half. She's my grounding in some cases. And my father is deceased. He died at 63 from heart issues, but he was a lifelong smoker, and that contributed greatly to it.
My husband and I do a lot of volunteer work. It's very important to us. We want to make the community better as a whole, just in general. We have certain organizations like the American Heart Association that are just important to us.
As I've become older, I've narrowed the organizations that I am involved with, and I think I'll always be involved with the Heart Association on some level.
It was a Thursday morning. I was getting ready to go play tennis. We were going to a tennis drill. We were at Sandestin for the Mississippi Bar Convention. I walked into the kitchen and Peter was attempting to talk to me, but he wasn't talking.
And so I'd gotten up and had coffee, sitting watching TV, and yelled to my wife in the back that it was almost 9 o'clock, we needed to get going. And then whatever came out of my mouth after that made no sense.
So the first thing I said to him was, move your lips. Move your lips, Peter. And he didn't move his lips.
And so Jennifer walked in and handed me a Triscuit box, said, read this and move your lips. And evidently that didn't go well.
I think he thought he was talking, but he wasn't talking. And so I knew immediately that he was possibly having a stroke.
I thought I was reading it, but evidently was not.
And I said, go look in the bathroom mirror. And so he went and looked in the bathroom mirror and his face had drooped. I, at that point, was getting my car keys and purse because going to immediately rush him to the hospital.
I mean, my face was sort of slumping, and I knew immediately what had happened. We were 5 minutes from Sacred Heart Medical Center, and so we drove right in. And by the time I got there, I was able to speak. They put me in the emergency room, hooked me up to EKG, said, do you know that you have AFib? And I said, no. They said, well, you have AFib, and that's what's probably caused this event. Because they said you had a mild stroke, and then they came back and said you had a medium stroke, which was not the type of progression you really wanted to hear about. But I had, by this time, called a cardiologist here, told him what was going on. Because I had routine cardio appointments because of my father.
Peter had already contacted his cardiologist, so he had an appointment on Tuesday, and it really was just monitor him until we could get him to a doctor here. That was a very scary time period for me. It was just constantly watching him, because one of the things they told us is he could have another stroke at any time. Peter had multiple procedures, successful, and had to go to some speech therapy. Other than that, I really don't see any side effects at all in Peter from having had the stroke. But I think we were very fortunate that he had a mild stroke.
Well, I think the fact that I was aware of those signs made us address it immediately. I'm afraid that if I hadn't been aware and I sort of semi-recovered, I may have just not done anything at that point in time.
I think I'm very lucky that I knew the warning signs, because had I not known the warning signs and we had just gone ahead and gone to tennis. So he was confused in his speech, but had I walked out 20 minutes later, he was able to talk 20 minutes later. So if I had walked out 20 minutes later and we had just gone to tennis, I think it would have been a much worse outcome. I wouldn't have known anything had I not been part of the American Heart Association. It's not the constant commercial that you see on the television. It was my actual involvement in this organization. It is the pamphlets that you see, it's the information they give you at the events that you go to. And believe it or not, those 15 minutes where someone gives their speech about don't forget fast and don't forget about this, you remember it, and it means more than you will know. He could have died from the event. First of all, I'm so blessed that it was mild and he hasn't had any lingering long-term effects from it. Like we said, we'd love to travel. We're headed to New York shortly. We're going to Carmel in March. If he weren't able to walk again, if he weren't able to communicate with me. I mean, he is my rock. He's my person I look to for advice and confide in.
I think about some nieces and nephews as they've grown up. Since we don't have children, there's somewhat our surrogate children, and would have missed them graduating and seeing them become productive adults in their life. We have 2 dogs that, bring us a bunch of joy, and I would have missed that.
I think one of the reasons it was important for us, for Peder to share his story, is we wanted people to know the signs and symptoms of a stroke. And if we're not willing to talk about what happens, how are other people going to be informed about it and know how important it is to actually know those signs and symptoms?
The irregular heartbeat is a cause of stroke, and so you can't let it go untreated.
Number one, go to the American Heart Association website. That has tons of information on the website about prevention, about the warning signs. One of the first things you're going to see is FAST, which is face, arm, speech, time.
And so it's important to me that people understand the signs of heart disease and stroke.
I hope that it does inform people and educate them, and that they too will know the signs fast, quick, immediately call 911. It can make such a difference. All of the money that's raised by the Heart Association stays in our state. It's not going anywhere else. So dollar for dollar, our money is helping our neighbors. And that's important to us. And just spending quality time with my husband. I'm so thankful. I love my husband and look forward to being with him for many more years to come.
I would echo what Jennifer said, that we look forward to spending time with each other, and I appreciate for everything the Heart Association does to make lives of heart attack and stroke survivors better, and to help prevent those incidents from occurring.